Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Groundwork Ohio's morning meeting. You're getting me and Sarah this morning. We're going to do a groundwork morning meeting. So, hi, I'm Brittany Bolton. For those of you who don't know me, I'm our vice president, and I work largely on our advocacy work and work really closely with Sarah on our communication campaigns targeting um, legislators, stakeholders, all sorts of audiences. So I'm going to kick it off with a little bit of a legislative update because there has been a little bit more in depth than we've typically done because there's been a lot going on at the State House these last few weeks. And then I'll kick it over to Sarah to introduce our new Vote Baby Vote Toolkit campaign that we hope some of you will consider using to help get more and more champions for House children registered to vote. So, I'll just chat for a little bit and then I don't have any slides. We like feel free to come off mute if you've got questions. Um, the headline this week at the State House was really Governor DeWine's legacy state of the state. If you did not have a chance to watch on Tuesday morning, you can watch it on the Ohio channel. Or if you're like me and you're less of a video replay person, you can also look at the full text here. I just put in the chat. You can control F that, I think, to find keywords and topics that you want to cover. But we saw a few things related to young children come out. So last year, we'd been really excited. I think the whole address was related to young children for possibly the first time in Ohio's history, which was incredible. But this time there were some good updates related to kids. So one thing we can celebrate is the kindergarten readiness assessment. Kindergarten preparedness is up by 8.3%, which is an additional 7,300 children a year. So he was celebrating that as well as our infant mortality rate being the lowest in 20 years. So that is huge, huge, huge news. So very excited to celebrate that in the governor's speech and shout out to everyone who has been working tirelessly on those numbers and supporting those families. A lot of the address was focused on the science of reading, so probably more K-12 space than many of us work on. But they're hiring additional coaches through the Department of Education and Workforce, the Read Ohio coaches, and they're expanding training for existing coaches. There was also some conversation around the Ohio C program and expanding eyeglasses for children through third grade in 15 counties to have access to free eyeglasses. And there was talk about expanding recess. That got a lot of love from a lot of different stakeholders from different vantage points, including my 7 and 9 year olds. There was also some language around actually a lot of language around security for children and AI, reducing screen time, trying to partner with the legislature to create language that would ban folks from using AI to create child pornography in the state of Ohio. Um, and finally, he really drove home his efforts to try to enact primary seatbelt law. So right now, you can get pulled over for a different offense, like speeding or rolling through a stop sign, and then primary seatbelt would be you could get pulled over for not wearing your seatbelt. So you can get a ticket for not wearing your seatbelt now, but you have to have had another offense be the reason for being pulled over. Another one of his legacy projects that's less germane to young children is really the H2 Ohio fund. He's went back and forth with the legislature on that for a year. So all of that is included in the address, and you're welcome to check it out. After the state of the state happened, which it was initially supposed to happen yesterday, but then we heard that President Trump was visiting. So the governor moved his address to accommodate that visit, and then a lot of committees got bumped around as well. So we saw House Children and Human Services Committee meet yesterday. A substitute bill was introduced for House Bill 649, which is Representative Williams and Swearingen's bill. That is the one of the two child care fraud allegation related bills that had provisions related to video surveillance. It seems as though he's loosening those up, but thinking about photography of young children instead. So we came out and testified as an interested party. Lynn Gutierrez, our CEO and president, testified about the dangers of putting the burden of our program integrity system on young children. If we have over 100,000 children every morning getting dropped off with publicly funded childcare subsidy? Do we want to be taking a picture of them at drop off, and how is that being stored? And what's the cost and integrity of the data? How long is it kept? For those of you who work with young children every day or drop them off yourselves, the logistical feasibility of trying to do that seems incredibly challenging. So we testified on that. There will be another hearing next week. This was just interested party and proponent today, but we will have opponent testimony opportunity next week as well. Um, Most likely on Tuesday morning. And I think, Melissa, do you remember, did Chair White say in committee? I think she said they were changing the time back to the earlier time.
Yeah, she said they might change the time and they might change the place as well.
Oh, they might change the room as well. Um, So we should get a committee notice on that, if not today, tomorrow. And if you haven't yet signed up for committee notices for that committee, you can do it through the website. I'll put that in the chat as well. Um, and that way you don't have to wait for us to poke. Many of you are probably already signed up, but I don't think it hurts to put a refresher in. They've changed how they send them out over the last General Assembly, as well as how you submit testimony. And I think Linnea just joined. Linnea, did you want to jump in? I just shared, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I just shared a recap of your testimony yesterday, and I didn't want to speak for you, but just centering kind of the experiences of children and not putting the burden of our program integrity system on morning drop off every day for little ones. And shared that, we've had families in our network that we asked for their experiences and comments that we were able to relay back to the committee.
No, I just hopped on in case there are other questions that got a little more wonky in terms of the various bills that are going on. So thanks.
Yeah. This is a good pausing point. So we've covered the state of the state address. We've covered committee activity this week. I'm going to put the link in the chat for signing up for meeting notices. But we can pause in case folks have questions or other, let's see. Is there a resource that shows the increase in KRA scores that Governor DeWine shared during his speech? I haven't yet seen anything come out yet, unless somebody else on our policy team has new data, but we'll be happy to include that in our updates once it's published. We'll
No,
put it out in the newsletter.
that's because this is that KRA. This is the one that was taken in the fall of 2025. So typically that would be published alongside the entire school report card data. So they were sharing good news because they have access to that data, but typically it's published alongside the full report card. And I haven't seen anything else come out. The 8.3% increase, though, can be added to what we were looking at, our current data. So we're hoping to get an updated kindergarten readiness fact sheet here in the next few months for people to utilize more readily, but it should be published with the full report card data. And if anything comes out in advance, we will share.
Thanks, Linian. We also have a question from Scott around whether both childcare bills are likely to move or be combined. I think it could go either way. I do think that Chair White is trying to be a really fair chair and give them both ample hearings, ample opportunities for folks to come through. But it seems to me that the Plummer bill is more likely to move, with elements perhaps of the Williams bill amended in related to the partial absenteeism, because they were accepting some amendments yesterday that had quite similar language. So I, anything could happen, like the political winds could shift, obviously, but to me, that seems quite likely. Um, Others perhaps have heard different, but if I had to take a bet, that would be my guess. Does anybody else have questions or other legislative updates on topics related to young kids that we didn't cover this morning before we talk about our voting campaign? Okay, cool. Well, feel free to put stuff in the chat or raise your hand. We'll have a legislative update in our newsletter as usual tomorrow morning that covers all of this as well. I'm going to pass it over to our Managing Director of Communications, Sarah Loken, who I think does have a few slides to introduce our Vote Baby Vote voter registration campaign. Hi,
Morning,
Sarah.
everyone. Good morning. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so Ohio will elect a new governor this year, as everyone knows, along with many other state and congressional policymakers. And we've been spending a lot of time thinking about how the decisions made by this next slate of leaders will shape early childhood policy and systems for years to come. So, Groundwork Ohio is helping to ensure that families and communities are ready to make their voices heard in upcoming elections. So, to this end, we are launching a nonpartisan voter engagement effort called Vote Baby Vote. And our goal is to encourage people, especially families with young children, to register to vote and make a plan to vote in the May 5th primary election. So, the idea is that babies and young children can't vote, but the adults who care for them can. So, you can participate in this campaign. You can join us by using our partner toolkit, which I will share in just a minute. This is an example of a promotion graphic that we're using between now and April 6th, which is the deadline to register to vote in Ohio's May 5th primary election. This QR code that you see on the screen drives people to the voter registration page on the Secretary of State website. So people can register to vote at that page or update their registration if they have moved. After that, after April 6th, after that registration deadline, all the way up then until the primary election on May 5th, the call to action is to make a plan to vote, either by finding your early voting location or finding your election day polling location. So these QR codes link to those specific tools on the Secretary of State website. And the toolkit that we have for you includes social media posts and graphics, flyers that you can use digitally or you can print them, newsletter content and banner graphics. These can also be used for emails or blogs. And then those 3 different QR codes that we're using throughout phase 1 and phase 2 of the campaign, we have all of those for you as well. And these are some ways that you can activate. We're not asking that you do everything, but if there are 2 or 3 actions here that fit best for you, for your communications person, if you have one, or for your organization, generally speaking, that would be fantastic. So you can share with your audience by including that voter registration link in your next email newsletter. You can post on social media and please tag us. If you want to share in your space by printing a flyer and posting it, or adding that QR code, printing it out and putting it on a desk in the lobby or a check-in area. You can, we'd love for you to engage with everyone that you come into contact with by mentioning it at staff meetings or any meetings that you have with families, or just otherwise any upcoming events that you have. Just one quick word about how important it is that this effort is strictly nonpartisan. So we do not support or oppose any candidates or parties. Our goal is just to ensure that Ohioans are registered and ready to participate. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now that will take you to a page on our website that actually just went up overnight, where you can download the toolkit that I described and use it as you see fit. And of course, as always, reach out to us with any questions that you may have. Brittany, Linan, anything to add? And then after that, does anyone have any questions?
No, I think you summarized it really well, Sarah. And I like my 501(c)(3 hat. Sarah mentioned this. I can't help but just underscore how important it is to for so many of us to just be a nonpartisan, not supporting any candidate. That in case anybody was not didn't have the slides up, that is just really, really critical as we're doing any type of voter engagement efforts. And I'm excited to take this on the road later this summer when we start our roadshow back up in August and September. So if you're interested in being a participant or host, please reach out to me. I'll throw my email in the chat. I already probably spam everybody on this call regularly, but we would love to work with you, and we would love to drive voter engagement through that opportunity as well. And in addition to that, we've before I move on, okay, I'm going to pause. I always do this. I go faster than my brain. Linnea, did you have anything else to add on voter campaign, or does anybody have questions about voter campaign?
I would just say, well, this team has been really careful to make sure that we're staying in our lane as a nonprofit 501(c)(3, that if you are a nonprofit or for profit, or if you have those boundaries or don't, just how important it is to not assume that even those that you talk with on a daily basis who may have really strong opinions about what's happening are voting. I think as we build up the advocacy infrastructure across the state, when we have our advocacy day or when we bring 100 families and their children to the state house, while we can't say this for certainty, we want to be able to tell every policymaker that all of those people are registered to vote. It's not just that they live in your district, but they are holding you accountable. And I think the more that we can do that, the better. So on the one hand, we've set a really good example about how to do that carefully and within our boundaries. And don't shy away from this. I'm always preaching that it's part of our work to do advocacy, even if we have limitations. And this is a very easy way that is not advocacy that you can engage and build out civic participation. And I know our team's thinking thoughtfully as we get to the general elections later this year, how to create even more targeted resources so that there's some separate resources for families, for providers that speaks specifically to what kind of materials they may need to participate. So vote, baby, vote. That is the mantra.
Well, we'll be pushing this heavily, and Sarah and her team are happy to answer any questions if you start trying to implement the toolkit and run into anything. Sarah and Marty and Mary Jane are all happy to help. Um, So I was thinking ahead to the roadshow, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I should share next week, just a week from today, we will have the First 5 Years Fund come to the morning meeting to talk about what's happening in Congress. They're on the ground there and can give a great federal update on the suite of legislation related to childcare fraud allegation work, and then in program integrity. And federal appropriations. So that's another campaign that we'll be driving here as well, as an action alert for federal appropriations. So we'll have that in our newsletter tomorrow. But we have some more openings for the rest of this spring. So I wanted to put in a plug that if there is content you would like to see on the morning meeting, please shoot me an email and we will make it happen. We want to do our best to have content that's compelling for everyone and useful for your work. So if there's something that you haven't seen covered yet that you'd like to see more of, we are all ears and want to try to make this as robust as we can. Um, Lots of love for the Vote Baby Vote. Nice work, comms team. Um, and we'll be excited to bring that everywhere we go later this summer. So morning meeting ideas, and if you have interest in hosting a roadshow, we'll get out more actual collateral around that. But our goal, I will say out loud to hold myself accountable, is to try to visit every state Senate district this year, all 33 of them. And some of you might have joined us in 2024 at broader panel events and kind of more formal speaking engagements where we had lunch conversation sessions with families and educators and all sorts of early childhood professionals in the mix, as well as a data walk and lots of great opportunities for folks to engage. But we're going to do more nimble and smaller events too this year. So there is no limit to how creative we can get with all of you, and would love to hop on the phone with folks and start planning some really great ways to highlight the programming that you're doing so we can put that all in a really nice package for the legislature as we look at the next budget cycle. So through my email in the chat, feel free to email about morning meeting ideas and roadshow ideas, and we can do some really fun planning for 2026 together while we register people to vote every step of the way. Awesome. Anybody else on my team have updates that we missed? And the ground workers. Yay, Rebecca, that's wonderful. Just had her 18-year-old register. Oh, that's incredible.
I bet everyone remembers the first election they voted in, right? Or if you haven't, think about it. It's kind of fun to remember.
Wonderful. Well, I know we're a little early today, but really appreciate everybody's time this morning. And I hope I can chat with some of you offline about some more fun ways that we can engage to keep driving good policy for young kids. Oh, congrats, Rebecca. That's amazing. We need more good social workers. That's great news. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody. I hope you can use the toolkit to get more folks registered to vote, and we'll see you next week with First 5 Years Fun. Thanks. Have a good day.
Bye.